Jeremy Williams, a theatre director, and Alexander Pastor, a theatre producer, are facing charges in the Crown Court that they caused to be shown an entertainment which contained acts and words which, taken as a whole, could be termed obscene. The charge refers to a play which was presented by the defendants at the Fulchester Palace Theatre on April the 23rd, called Public Lives. The witness in the box is Mr. Jeremy Williams, the play's director.
Now, Mr. Williams, is Mr. Pastor a man who has a reputation for presenting plays which might have been called indecent or obscene?
Not at all, no. He's a producer of light comedies of a frothy nature.
Yes, and you yourself, beside these fringe productions you spoke of.
I'm sorry?
I mean, have you yourself ever been associated with stage presentations which might have been called indecent or obscene?
No, none of my plays, no.
And your work has included some distinguished appointments?
Well, yes, for 4 years I was an associate director of the National Theatre of Canada.
Now, what about this play? What was the reaction you had on the first night?
Oh, very good indeed. I was delighted with the notices. They really understood what I was trying to get at. In the bar, you know, after the performances, I was, well, I don't know how you'd put it.
Acclaimed?
Yes, yeah.
Yes. Now, did anyone tell you how appalling the simulated intercourse was, both homosexual and heterosexual, how it had damaged them, or how they had been corrupted or depraved by it?
No, quite the reverse. In fact, I recall somebody saying that he would think twice about engaging in such activities because he would remember this play and start laughing.
Yes.
No, that was a lady who said that. Sorry, it was a lady. You see, it had the effect of reducing these so-called obscenities into an absurdity.
Yes, but I mean, you are concerned that sex should play some relevant part in human relations. I mean, you're not saying that it's absurd.
Well, of course not. Quite the reverse. But surely you understand, I mean, you've all seen the play, that what I was trying to get at is that sex has become absurd. As absurd as that gown that you are wearing, and that wig. Now, I say this with great respect, my lord. But their only function is to act as a token. Their real purpose ceased when modes of dress changed. They survived to remind us of justice, just as sex survives, to remind us of such things as love and procreation. And now simple contact between human beings.
Well, are you saying that sex has become a substitute for these values?
Yes, I am. And the more we yearn for these values, the more we tend to exaggerate the importance of sex.
Yes, so your play, far from being a play that set out to trample on values, actually used these sexual devices to show or suggest a lack of them and a need for them.
Yeah, that's right.
My lord, I'm sure we're all deeply fascinated by this philosophical discussion. We've all had the privilege of being singled out as sex objects, and we've had scorn poured over our attire, and we've listened to a discourse on the uselessness of sex. Could I plead with my learned friend to return to the evidence?
My lord, I submit that everything this witness has said so far is relevant to the production of this play.
I suppose the people of a theatrical nature must be permitted to embellish their points, Mr. Lotterby. I mean,
my lord, with great respect, that is palpably unfair. It is placing theatrical people in a minority category who need to be humoured. I would request that an equal amount of weight be given to this witness's testimony as to that of the others.
I, for one, have listened to him most carefully, Mr. Parsons, and I've noticed Mr. Lotterby listening with great respect. Indeed, everybody in the court here has given your witness a good hearing. If I impugn theatrical people by my remark, I unhesitatingly withdraw it.
I'm grateful to your lordship for that. Now, it was therefore your idea to show these so-called perverted acts on stage.
Yes, mine entirely. Mr. Pastor saw it through. He was very tolerant. Then, of course, he is a very open-minded person.
Yes. Now, it has been suggested that you and people like you have no concern for the sensibilities of their audiences. Now, what do you have to say to that, Mr. Williams?
But my life is tied up in audiences. I want them to understand that what I'm doing is for their own good. In this play, I wanted them to laugh at themselves, not just at objects of fun on a stage. I mean, laughter's a great healer, you know. It's a pity you can't get it on the National Health.
Yes. Now, Miss Jenkins claimed that you told her to get out because she wouldn't subject herself to the indignity of being exposed on stage in these rewritten situations, and naked to boot.
Yeah, well, we had a terrible row. You know, about this chap that she was going out with, and she turned it into a refusal to appear in the play in the nude, and she walked out.
Well, did you attempt to do anything about this?
Well, we were going to sue her, but, you see, I had told her 5 days before I made the announcement to the rest of the cast that she'd be asked to simulate intercourse on stage, and she'd no objection then. Indeed, she quite seemed to warm to it.
Yes. Now, Mr. Appleby says that you tampered with his text to such an extent that he asked to have his name taken off it.
Yes, well, I'm sorry about that. It must have been a bit of a surprise to him. You see, I do rather tend to ride roughshod over writers and then think better of it afterwards. But, you see, Mr. Pastor and I were going to send him a letter of apology, and with a lump sum on top of his royalties, when the atmosphere had died down a bit.
What atmosphere?
Well, the rather heated relationship between Mr. Appleby and myself. But I still think it was a vastly better play the way I did it.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
Pure?
I'm sorry?
Did you call this play pure?
Yes.
Are we talking the same language, you and I?
I'm sorry, I don't...
A public performance of an act of sodomy, that is pure?
It is possible.
Well, it's abominable, isn't it?
It is used merely as a background to the dialogue. Ultimately, you hardly notice it.
You just speak for yourself, Mr. Williams. You may hardly notice it.
No, please. It is possible to put something on stage that is there to act as a counterpoint to what is being said. And eventually you hardly notice it. Let me give you an example. Shall we say, the crucifixion. Now, that was barbarity beyond anybody's imagination. A man bleeding slowly to death. But put two people in front of it, having an argument about whether the sheets are going to be black silk or white silk. And you've got a point. And when the point is made, the background and the foreground become subsumed into something else.
Are you comparing what you put on at the Fulchester Palace Theatre with a crucifixion?
No. Only in form, not in content.
I see. Yes, well, let's examine your claim to have made these changes in Mr. Appleby's script for a purely aesthetic motive. You said you were far from being a commercial man of the theatre.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, what was it you said to Mr. Appleby? You would all make a mint?
Well, I didn't put it exactly like that, but I did expect to make some money out of it, yes.
Why? Why would this one make money and not all the others you've directed?
Because people would want to see this play.
Yes, because of its nudity, because of its frankness, its adult nature, as advertised in the Fulchester Echo.
Yes, I fully expected some people to come for the wrong reasons.
You were therefore intending to make money by encouraging people who saw this advertisement to become voyeurs.
I was confident that once they were inside the theatre, watching the play, they would benefit from what they saw.
And anyone was allowed to come along and partake of this frank and adult experience?
No, not everyone. There was a notice outside the theatre saying that children of 16 and under would not be admitted.
Yes, but you would accept that there are people of adult years who have the mental age of a child?
Yes.
And these people might be admitted?
Yes.
Would the childlike state of their minds be adversely affected by it?
Well, it's possible, but I don't think it's likely.
So you admit it's possible that your play might deprave and corrupt?
Mr. Lotterby, I feel I must remind the members of the jury that even if you establish the point you are trying to make, that does not render the work obscene. To be obscene, it must tend to deprave and corrupt those most likely to attend it, and a significant proportion, in fact. You cannot establish a general tendency to corrupt and deprave by reference to a tiny minority of the population.
As your lordship directs. Well, let's come right down to the nub of this issue, Mr. Williams. Now, you've appeared to be knowledgeable about certain aesthetic values. You appear to know what's good and what's bad for an audience.
And I don't say that.
Let me finish, please.
Sorry.
You've advertised this play in a certain manner, frank and adult. You've also admitted that many of the people entering the theatre to see your display of sexual gymnastics would come as voyeurs, and then they'd see tragic situations, perverted mentalities treated as if they were comic.
Well, look, let me explain. In the theatre, we often treat tragedy in that way. You see, we need the comedy to emphasise the tragedy as a contrast. I mean, Shakespeare does it all the time.
Yes, but these perversions were treated in your play as if they were attractive.
I would not say they were treated as though they were attractive. I would say they were treated as though they were laughable.
Are you aware of what Dr. Coggan, the Archbishop of York, said recently about the theatre?
No, I'm afraid I'm not, no.
Well, he said the stage is being disgraced by the kind of stuff being put on in London where sex is lampooned instead of reverenced. Are you not disgracing the stage?
I'm afraid I can't answer to the Archbishop's views on the theatre. Do you know if he's seen this play?
I put it to you, Mr. Williams, that your advertisement, your publicity, attracted innocent people to a display of perverted acts, a display which encouraged them to go out and do likewise.
Look, people are attracted to what they have a leaning towards. Art does not encourage or deter them.
You don't care about these people, Mr. Williams. You don't give a damn.
I do!
Yes, you do care, don't you, Mr. Williams?
Listen, I care very much about the effect that my work has on people. I just don't believe that I put anything on stage that's obscene, that's all.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. No further questions, my lord. You are Anthony Nigel Gillam Standing of 13 Portin Road, Chelsea, London.
I am.
What is your occupation?
I'm the Member of Parliament for the Naismith constituency in London.
Yes. And on April 22nd, did you travel to Fulchester and attend a performance of the play Public Lives at the Palace Theatre?
I did.
Now, what do you have to say, speaking as a responsible public figure and as a theatre-goer, to the charge that this play was obscene?
Oh, I would say nonsense. And I found it enjoyable.
Yes. Now, were you a member of a parliamentary select committee on broadcasting?
Yes.
And do you have a 17-year-old daughter, an only child?
I do have, yes.
And on the night you went to see this play, did she accompany you?
And she did, yes.
And what did she think of it?
She thought
My
it was
lord.
huge fun.